Hey guys, so today I wanted to talk about a rather gigantic thorn that has unfortunately made its way not only into my side, but also into the side of American culture, especially within the last few years. And the thorn in question is called cancel culture. For those of you who, for whatever reason, have the privilege of not knowing what cancel culture is, allow me to explain. Cancel culture is an internet phenomenon that basically denounces a person of their fame and influence over an audience because of things that they may have said or done at some point in their career. Whether it be 10 years or 10 minutes ago, no quote unquote controversial statement is safe from being judged, and being judged rather harshly, I might add. Some examples of people who have been cancelled, at least at the time of this video's upload, would be people like Shane Dawson, David Dobrik, J.K. Rowling, and even Ellen DeGeneres, all of which are more or less cancelled for different reasons as far as personal experience goes, but cancelled for the same reason in the sense that they did things that many people did not agree with. In fact, many people disagreed so passionately that they felt the need to make an attempt to end their careers. For better or for worse, this is the basis of cancel culture: end the careers of people who say or do things that you do not agree with. Now, admittedly speaking, cancel culture is one of those things that, on paper, at least in my opinion, sounds like a good idea. There shouldn't be any room for people who actively spread hate and encourage violence on platforms like YouTube, or any social media platform for that matter. In a perfect world, social media is merely something people use as a form of communication, but that is not the world that we live in. Instead, social media has become a goldmine for those who would like to cancel the lives of other people, for what is at times, and honestly more often than not, an honest mistake. This is where cancel culture gets the bad reputation that it currently has. And I think the earliest example I could find of cancel culture would be a case that many people today may or may not know about, and that is the case of Justine Sacco. Justine Sacco was not an influencer. She was not a celebrity. She was not in the eye of the public at all, aside from having a Twitter account. And she was a woman on her way to visit her family in South Africa. But before her plane departed, she tweeted things like, "Weird German dude, you're in first class. It's 2014, get some deodorant." In her monologue as I inhale BO, "Thank God for pharmaceuticals." And, "Going to Africa. Hope I don't get AIDS. Just kidding. I'm white." Yikes. Those are tweets that did not age well. Not even a little bit. But what happened next can only be described in so many words. But the word that I would like to use today is irrational. People saw her tweet, and within a matter of hours it was trending worldwide. It was reported on national news. The hashtag #HasJustineLandedYet was all over Twitter. The company she worked for publicly declared her employment was terminated because of her tweets, and mind you, all of this happened before she even got to her destination. Her best friend, however, did get the chance to tell her what was going on when Justine landed in a layover. So Justine wore sunglasses as a means of disguising herself. But to add insult to injury, a Twitter user with obviously nothing better to do in their sad and lonely life took a picture of her in disguise while she was at the airport and posted it so everyone could spot her. As you can imagine, the tweet was deleted and Justine's life, at least for the moment, was ruined. So for whoever is watching and may be lacking in common sense, let me just inform you that her tweets are just bad jokes. Horribly worded, poorly messaged, and infinitely inappropriately placed bad jokes. But for those who believe in cancel culture, it doesn't matter if it's a joke. As a matter of fact, to people who believe in cancel culture, it doesn't matter if someone kidnapped Justine Sacco's entire family and threatened to kill them unless she tweeted those bad jokes. She tweeted them, and that's more than enough of a reason to strip her of everything that could possibly give her life meaning. Now don't get me wrong, she most certainly deserved some consequences for her actions. Her tweets, after all, no matter how you look at it, were offensive and insensitive, and it was published on a public account. But she didn't deserve any of what happened to her. I don't understand how people can logically say that because she made a bad joke, that makes it okay for them to go after her. The fact that her tweets were just jokes doesn't make it any less insensitive, but the punishment simply does not fit the crime. She made a stupid decision, and people's first reaction was to destroy her. It really is true what they say. This generation really wouldn't survive 1 minute in a Call of Duty lobby. And what I'm about to say next, ironically, may cancel me due to the fact that it's not something that most people are ready to hear. but it needs to be said anyways. So here we go. Do with this information what you guys will. Just because you are bothered by something does not give it verification as to whether or not it's actually problematic. It doesn't make you a victim simply because you may not think it's right, and it certainly doesn't justify trying to ruin someone else's life over it. Everyone at some point in their life has made a mistake. That's part of being human. Nobody is perfect. Sometimes people just screw up. And to me, the worst part about cancel culture is the complete and utter absence of forgiveness. For cancel culture, no one is allowed to be forgiven simply because the idiots who are part of this cult, and yes, I'm gonna call it that, a cult, the people who are part of it in the first place, don't believe in forgiveness. What kind of example is that supposed to set, especially for kids? Young kids today are discovering social media all the time, and this is what they're finding. Their young and impressionable minds aren't gonna know any better. They're just kids, and they're gonna think that ending someone's career over disagreements is the best way, scratch that, the only way to handle their problems. Instead of just ignoring that person's opinion, they'll believe that lacking forgiveness is okay. That is the message of cancel culture. It is simply impossible that one could learn from their past mistakes and grow to be a much better person. It doesn't matter if you donated millions of dollars to the group you offended, or even issue a public apology. You made the decision to do something that I don't like, so in retaliation, I'm going to viciously rip apart your entire existence because it somehow makes me a better person than you and adds to my own ego and sense of self-righteousness. My blatant stalking, harassment, and constant death threats could never compare to that tweet you made 10 years ago about not liking my favorite band by saying that their music is trash. And the true irony is that people who believe in cancel culture are the same people who claim that they're woke, that they have the true right idea, and that they've got a good read on things. They claim to be this intellectually open-minded person, when in actuality, they're none of those things at all. If you believe in cancel culture and believe it can do no wrong, you are not an open-minded person, unless it's for people with views that are precisely like yours. Which is a real shame, because you have all of these platforms at your disposal. Social media and technology as a whole have changed so much, especially within the last 10 years. You have a way to reach people around the world, to inform them, and to have civil discussions with them. But instead, you choose to find some poor sap whose life you think should be ruined because he said he didn't like girls with blue hair. Disclaimer. Ladies, if you have blue hair, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Everyone is entitled to the way that they wish to look, and Stop. Do you see my problem here? The fact that I have to put that disclaimer there at all shows just how problematic cancel culture has become these past few years. I mean, people on the internet have become so quick to judge about what others think, or what they may think, that I literally have to spoon-feed my audience my belief that blue hair is okay to have, out of fear that unless I do, the internet will eat me alive, just for the theory that I may be against the idea. So, what should the alternative be? Should we get rid of cancel culture? Despite the direction this video has been going in, my answer to that is no. At least not completely. Hear me out. I know it sounds contradictory, but let me explain. I believe that cancel culture can be used for good, depending on who it's targeted on. Why are we using this weapon of mass destruction on a white kid who says the N-word when he listens to a rap song, when we could instead be using it on people who do human trafficking? Organizations like NAMBLA, where they literally advocate for acceptance of pedophilia, anti-LGBT organizations, or, I don't know, the actual KKK, a hate group that's been around for more than 100 years? I honestly hope that one of these days I can run into someone who wants to actually make the argument that a tweet from 10 years ago deserves more attention, repercussions, and consequences than a literal hate group hell-bent on worldwide racism. I just don't get it. When did it become so important for us to tear each other down? The way that I see it, we didn't get gay marriage to become legal in all 50 states by hurting each other, nor did we get a black man as the president by hurting each other. We were able to do things like that because we came to an understanding, because some people were able to let go of past beliefs and move forward to make better, more informed decisions. Granted, we were able to do those things because people back then made sacrifices so that those people could have a voice. But cancel culture is trying to silence voices. It doesn't make sense. It's a contradiction. And my worst fear, my absolute worst fear, is that because of cancel culture, historical things like that might not happen as often, or worst case scenario, potentially never happen again. Forgiveness goes a long way, but so does the lack of forgiveness. As human beings, we have survived this long and have made this much technical and societal progression because we've been able to work together and put our differences aside when it counts so that we can make a better tomorrow. Not by beating each other down. Whether you realize it or not, cancel culture is trying to cancel the very foundation of that idea as well. And if you're subscribed to my channel and believe in cancel culture and believe it can do no wrong, unsubscribe from me right now. I don't need your support. I don't want your support. You are a low-life individual with no room for love or forgiveness in your heart. You only want to hear what you want to hear, and everyone else is wrong. And you should be ashamed of yourself. Read a book one of these days, or better yet, listen to what people actually have to say. And no one is saying that you have to agree, but just because it's not what you think doesn't mean it's wrong. The best way to combat cancel culture is by learning to forgive those who have made true and honest mistakes. I know that can be hard sometimes, but for many reasons, it must be done. Forgive those deserving of forgiveness. Maybe not right away because people do need consequences for their actions, but eventually. Now, the tricky part is differentiating who is and who is not deserving of forgiveness. But the way I see it, the people who don't deserve forgiveness are those who are actively seeking to make other people's lives genuinely harder. So people who are misogynistic and racist, and people who spread those hateful ideas and encourage other people to do bad things. People who voice their harmful views and take part in or even promote harmful actions do not deserve a platform because they are actively trying to have a negative effect on culture. Those are the people you should be canceling, not people who make stupid decisions that have consequences that don't even last the week. Forgiveness and growth is possible, which brings us back to Justine Sacco. This makes me really happy because Justine's story ended up actually having a happy ending. Justine ended up apologizing for her tweets. She was genuinely sorry for it, as she never wanted it to go that far or have her tweets be interpreted the way that they were. She never wanted it to go in the direction that it did, as that was not her intention and her tweets did not express her actual views. Now, the company that fired her actually ended up forgiving her because of how sincere her apology was. And now she's the head of all corporate communications. And to that I say, good for her. So you see, guys, forgiveness is possible. Now, can we please learn to utilize more of that in our day-to-day life? People have a capacity to do good, and we shouldn't take that away simply because we don't agree with their views. Agree to disagree. It's that simple. Be an adult and move on with your life. You're not always going to find people who agree with you, and that's a good thing. What good is it to have people around you all the time who will support absolutely anything that you do? You're not always right. You're a human being. You are not above making mistakes. And who knows, maybe finding someone who disagrees could teach you a thing or two. Maybe you'll realize that you were the one that was wrong. But if we silence those people, then we will never truly know. So let's move forward and be adults, and let's cancel culture.